Welcome to Know Your Right, a show that seeks to look at the Zimbabwean Constitution as well as the Bill of Rights. My name is Brighton Ncube. This is Asake Online. Over the past few weeks, we've been talking to experts, lawyers, and constitutional experts talking about the issue of constitutional amendment in Zimbabwe. So this week we bring you another show talking about amending before aligning the Constitution of Zimbabwe. I'm joined by Nikiwe Tshabalala. Ma'am, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Right. Let's talk about democracy in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Do you feel like there's democracy in Zimbabwe looking at the past events that have been happening in the new dispensation?
Yeah, that's a difficult question practically to answer because we have a constitution in place, we've got the states, the people in place, everything is set for democracy to be there in Zimbabwe. But unfortunately, I cannot say there is democracy. Why? Because where there is democracy, we follow what the constitution says. There will be rule of law in a country where there is democracy. People will be having freedoms to express themselves, to have their rights respected and not limited. But unfortunately, that's not what we are seeing currently in the country.
Right. So now we are amending the Constitution of Zimbabwe before aligning the Constitution, before yes. aligning the laws to the Constitution. Right. When this Constitution was written, they went far and wide to consult people who would say this is what we want to be part of the Constitution. But now they're coming to amend the Constitution when Zimbabwe is divided. Do you think this is the right time for the Constitution to be amended in Zimbabwe?
Definitely, it's not the right time. Because one of the principles of why we have a Constitution just like this one, a people-driven Constitution, right, is such that we follow the principles therein, we align all the laws, we take time to say, have we achieved what we wanted to see in terms of the provisions in the Constitution before we can even think about amending? So the Constitution is there not just to be played with willy-nilly and to be amended just so shortly. Just in 2013, this Constitution came. This is about 7 years down the line. We haven't even done some of the provisions that are in that Constitution. Right? For example, I'll give you the provision about the vice presidents, the running mate situation. It was supposed to come into effect in 2023. We haven't even tried that provision. We haven't voted for a vice president. But here we are, already we have an amendment. We are amending what we haven't even practiced, what we haven't even tried. So what are we amending when we haven't even practiced that? So it's a challenge that we are having, me and you, such that when the next visitations come, what do you call them?
Consultation.
The consultative meetings come. We are supposed to ask those questions and say, what has gone wrong with what we haven't done? So those conversations should start now, and our people should understand these meetings are not going to be as extensive as when we started the Constitution itself. At that time, COPAC was all over. Consulting people, everyone was like-minded for the amendment of the Constitution. People-driven Constitution. But now, these amendments, which I think are selfish anyway, they are coming now, and the number of consultative meetings that have been set up, they are not as extensive as when we were advocating for this Constitution, which is rather not fair. This is not a people-driven amendment, right? And here we are tearing down the Constitution without involving the people. I don't think really this is the right time to amend this Constitution. Even if you are to look at the provisions one by one, they are not worth it.
Now let's focus on the issue of the running mates.
Yes.
What's your take on the issue of the running mate in terms of the provisions being amended, the running mate?
Yes. The running mate, the Constitution is saying we want to amend that provision. The amendment proposes that the president be the one who appoints the vice president, right? Which was the norm from before. And the people of Zimbabwe rose up in 2013 and said, no more of this thing. If you want us to vote you into power, let us know who your vice is going to be. You all run the race together and we vote you into power. Not one person selecting the vice president. We did not want that as a people in Zimbabwe. People spoke and we amended the Constitution. So here we are, we haven't even voted anyone into that position, right? And we are now amending. So at the end of the day, we are taking back the power to one institution, which is what we were against when we made this Constitution. We are saying, let everyone be involved. It's our country, it's our democracy. Let there be rule of law. This is what the people of Zimbabwe want. Let's vote them into power. not one person choosing everybody in a senior department, in a senior office in Zimbabwe, that power going back to one person. It's not fair. In other words, we're just creating a cartel legally. This is what we are literally doing. Because what guarantee do I have that the person that you're going to appoint has got the credentials to be a vice president? They are worthy for that post. Obviously, you appoint someone who's going to bow down to your command. So really, there's no fairness, there's no democracy that we're doing by this amendment.
In your own view, giving the president too much power, how does that affect our democracy as Zimbabweans?
Obviously, power will be abused. Obviously, power is going to be abused. You give a person too much power, what do they do with it? Why not allow the people to say their views, to do what they want, right? What's so painful about us voting a person into power? Obviously, this is targeted at a certain maybe political party, not being able to field in a person for the vice president with the fear that they might win and you dilute the status quo at the high offices. So obviously, you can interpret that to fit into that category. So if there's that fear, then that fear is not democratic. That fear is not lawful. That fear should not be ruling and telling Zimbabweans what to do, because it doesn't benefit us. But what we want to see is a democratic situation where we elect our own leaders. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's an interesting provision is also on the look of public protector.
Yeah.
The president is going to appoint the public protector.
Yes.
And however, the issue of the deputy public protector now is going to be appointed whenever the president wants, maybe if necessary, it's going to appoint the deputy public protector. Do you think this is okay for the president to appoint deputy when necessary? And also, looking at the public protector, it's going to take away some of the roles of the Human Rights Commission.
Yes.
Human Rights Commission has been underfunded over the years by the government of Zimbabwe. Why are we taking power away from the Human Rights Commission and giving to the public protector?
What is interesting, Brighton, there is that who appoints the public protector. Mm-hmm. That person is supposed to protect us, the public.
Yes.
But is being appointed by one institution. What guarantee do we have that they are going to have the people's issues at heart and go and implement without fear, without favor, when you are being appointed by one office? Is that person able to question what that one office will be doing? Obviously, there is a problem, there is a loophole there that is being created in the very appointment of the public protector. Clause 18, it creates that office, and it says that person will be, the public protector will be appointed by the president after consultation with the Judicial Services Commission. I underline the word consultation because it doesn't necessarily mean agreement. The president doesn't have to be in agreement with the Judicial Services Commission. They can just be consulted. Whatever their input is in that scenario doesn't bind the president. He doesn't have to follow. Even if they are to say this person is not fit because of A, B, C, D, F, G, if the president thinks he is a fit and proper person to occupy that office, then that person will be put in that position. So really, that's a very big loophole in so far as principles of democracy are concerned. There should be checks and balances. Where are the checks and balances? There's no check and balance there.
What's interesting is that when a soldier or a police officer or a CIO maybe beats you as a citizen of Zimbabwe, this issue goes to the public protector, not the Human Rights Commission.
Yes.
Right now, looking at back in Zimbabwe, the January 16 beatings in Bulawayo shutdown, whereby our soldiers abuse people. So this issue goes back to the public protector, not the Human Rights Commission. Mm-hmm. Why are we taking those things to the public protector who's appointed by the president, not the Human Rights Commission?
Obviously, because the public protector will be biased. Mm-hmm. There is a possibility that that person will be biased because of the very appointment, the provision of their appointment. As compared to the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, it's a commission made of commissioners, different commissioners. Someone might come with a different view. Someone might come with the democracy in mind, with human rights at heart, and say, no, this is a wrong. So, any kind of the state, or if it's a public institution, then really you can't take that issue to a public protector because of their very appointment. Even if we don't know who the candidates may be, but their very appointment is questionable at law.
So lastly, before we go to an update, let's look at the issue of judges now. Before, judges did interviews before Parliament, and Parliament would approve and select names of people, then give to the president. Mm-hmm. But now, we're not going to have those interviews. We're going to appoint judges.
Yes.
How do you react to that provision?
The appointment of judges. That's a sensitive issue. I didn't see any wrong with the public interviews because Zimbabwe was being given a chance to scrutinize, to get a feel of who is this person, what credentials do they have, what is it around them, what are their personal circumstances that we may question publicly and say, this might not qualify you, or what do you have to say about this and that, right? It was a clear, transparent manner in which to appoint people into public offices. I don't see anything that has gone wrong with that procedure. But now we're seeking to go back to say the president can, on recommendation of the Judicial Services Commission, right? Again, we are just seeking their opinion. We're not being bound by what they say. And also, you take note that on that provision, it says their retirement is now going to be 70 years. But we had said people should retire on time, right? 60, 65, good time to retire. 70 is rather old. They are saying judges mature with time like wine. You saw that on social media. But we are saying, is that what we want as Zimbabwe? Is that what we want to see? Don't we have capable people who are of age, right? And we retire our judges in good time. They also want to have time with their families and enjoy their retired life. Why are we cutting? Why are we putting the cutoff at 70? And not only at 70, remember it's saying, the provision is saying they can extend by another 5 years upon their mental fitness being certified by a doctor. But, well, we know those things can be easily obtained. This is Zimbabwe. We're not speaking into the credentials of the doctors, but we know definitely a person can be said to be fit at 75. But what precedent are we setting? 75, you are still a judge, you are still there in office. Fine, your contract is being renewed every year. Are we not creating a scenario where you just have to befriend the president for your contract to be extended? Because that privilege is being reserved for one person or for one office. So really there is a problem with the issue of appointment of judges. What guarantee will I have for a judge who has been appointed by the president? Let's say I've got an issue against the president's office or an organ of the state, right? I want to go and appear before a court of law that is just, that is fair, that is transparent. And this person has been appointed by a judge, and my grievance is pointing towards the person who has appointed the judge. What guarantee do I have that they have got justice at heart, they've got human rights at heart, they are going to treat me in a just manner? There is no guarantee at all, because the person, the hand that feeds you, can you bite it? Those are the questions that then arise with us Zimbabweans, to say, no, this system is not going to be transparent at all.
So when I'm saying the people-driven constitution, and when people say we want this, but now these amendments are giving us something different. So what are we saying then to the citizens of Zimbabwe in terms of their choice, their rights? What are we saying about their rights to as a government? What are we saying to them?
We are saying people of Zimbabwe should arise. Right now we're going to have public consultative meetings that are going to be held. I just saw an article saying in Bulawayo we're going to have one at the small city hall. They're not going to go around and consulting the people. This is a time when people of Zimbabwe should stand up and go and make their views heard. Their views heard to say no to the amendment of this constitution. Because surely we're going back to what we used to have before this constitution, where we have the president appointing every senior officer in the government. Are we not creating that scenario where the president might appoint people around him, his close allies, and we're not able to question them at the end of the day? Because if he is to appoint a judge, if he is to appoint a public protector, if he is to appoint whoever the chief of whatever government department, then how are you able to question those when it's just a circle of people that know each other? So we really have a challenge. People of Zimbabwe, our rights are being violated right now. This amendment was supposed to be driven by the people to say, now we have a gap, this is not right for us. Because no one has complained so far, or no one had complained prior to this proposal of the amendment. Whoever had complained, we don't know. But as far as I have heard, as far as I have followed the subject, No one in the public has complained. Everyone is saying we have a beautiful constitution. If only every other statute could be aligned to follow what this constitution says. So this beautiful document, we are already tearing it without even aligning the laws, without even doing some of the provisions that it has provided for. I believe it's really unfair.
Well, you're watching Know Your Right. My name is Brighton Ncube. I'm joined by Nikiwe Tshabalala, discussing the issue of the constitutional amendment in Zimbabwe, which is taking space. Everyone's talking about the issue of amendments. Why are we amending the constitution before aligning it? Please join us after the short break. Welcome back to Know Your Right. I'm still joined by Nikiwe Tshabalala, talking about the Constitution of Zimbabwe and the issue of amendment of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Right, ma'am, earlier on, we attend public consultation meetings, but now, versus the issue of the whipping system. Yes. In Parliament, people are whipped in line to vote so and so. How does that affect in terms of people, rights to being taken away, but people are going to vote this way?
Yeah, talking about the whipping system, and talking about the public consultative meetings, we cannot tell the people of Zimbabwe not to attend the public consultative meetings because of the whipping system. Still, the people have to attend the public consultative meetings so that their voice is also heard. There's nothing we can do right now to say, stay away. Even if you stay away, that bill is going to go straight into Parliament, and people are going to vote for it. And remember, who constitutes the Parliament anyway? Who constitutes the 2/3 majority that is required to have this bill to be passed, to be what? To be a proper law. So, looking at the whipping system, the 2/3 that constitute the Parliament right now is occupied by a certain political party. So even if you are to stay at home and say, I'm not participating, nothing much is going to change. But it will be right for the people to attend these public consultative meetings, make their voice heard. That's the only chance that we have for our voices to be heard, for our contribution to be heard. So what we'll have to encourage citizens is, let's attend in our numbers. In as much as there are challenges, there are difficulties, we haven't been adequately informed and consulted on this amendment. Let's arise and make our voices heard. The whipping system is there. We know it's if a bill is going to pass, they will get the 2/3. They are there to vote, and these 2/3, they don't care about how it affects you or anything. They are just complying to the master's call, or they are just satisfying whoever out there.
So now let's talk about the women proportional representation.
Yeah.
How is that is going to empower women? Because we're seeing now it's going to be extended for the next coming 10 years. How is that empowering women? Is it tokenism or empowering women?
Okay, Brighton, the truth is, I really don't believe in that that women's quota thing. It's just there as a basic minimum measure to ensure that women are also represented in Parliament. It doesn't mean, to me, it's as if we're saying women are not capable of those leadership positions. It is just that the ground is not level. That's why most of the women who deserve to be in those positions are not there. Right? So, yes, it's okay as a basic minimum measure, but not really taking away the credibility that women have, the capabilities that they have to be in the leadership of the country.
But I'm talking about Zimbabwe politics. Why is not the ground level? What's the problem in Zimbabwe in terms of looking at the ground, the levelness of the ground?
I'll blame the patriarchal system, right? There are so many insults that apply to a woman that don't apply to a man. And as a professional, I don't like being told some of those terms because I have chosen to lead in my country, because I have chosen this public post. Every time you are seen to be arising to take this public post, you know, women get all sorts of labels. You know, people wanting to know about your family, who have you entered a house with, being, you know, just being scrutinized, toned down, left, right and center. Most people don't want, most deserving women, they don't want to face those challenges and arise above them and go into leadership positions. So it's like this women's quota system, we are just making sure women want to shut your mouths, you have your 16 Parliament, we are stretching this by another 10 years, and you are not looking into women. You are credible enough to be in these positions. You deserve them. We need your young people to come and also participate in the leadership decisions. It's not like that. I don't feel this is the criteria that we are using. We are now just doing things for the sake of We're just putting those women for the sake of saying, there's 60 women in the house, so in parliament, so you are covered. So really, its advantages are minimal, because remember, those women, they don't have particular constituencies that they are assigned to. They don't have particular duties at constituency level that they are what? They just operate willy-nilly. We just provide for their presence. We then don't task them and say, okay, we are going to assess your capability or the work that you're doing in the communities this way. They now have to figure out and say, okay, I'm there representing the women's quota system. What is it that I'm supposed to do in my community, right? And even if they don't do anything, how do you blame them? So at the end of the day, you are just being made just packages. You know, you are just there for the sake of counting numbers and not for the sake of credibility and the work that you're supposed to be doing.
So we're into Women's Month, and there's been a lot of talk about gender equality and affirmative action. And it comes also issue of quota, the women's quota system. Do you think affirmative action is the way to go for us to achieve gender equality in Zimbabwe?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. But looking into the Women's Month, we are saying generation equality. Equality doesn't mean giving me a favor. Speaking into that quota system, it speaks against what? Generation equality. Equality is me and you are able to do leadership. We deserve to be there, and our credentials and our capabilities qualify us to be in that position. I don't necessarily need to be favored to say you'll be put there without what? Going through a normal election process, right? So really, that women's quota system speaks against generation equality, because we are saying we are capable too. So if we are capable, give us equal opportunities. And if the game is about equal opportunities, then let me also be elected to be there. But speaking of the ground not being level is the reason why we are having that quota system. Yes.
Let's move on to the issue of the youth quota system now. They're saying it's going to be 10 seats given to the youths, one per province. Now, the youths are the majority in Zimbabwe. They're given 10 seats in parliament. Do you think that is fair?
In a way, it's just also another provision that is just there. But speaking into the fairness, it's not fair at all. Because that one youth per province, how big is a province in Zimbabwe? What's the population like of the youth in that?
So gender in terms of the choosing, selecting which person to be elected for province.
Exactly. Out of those 10, how many are going to be women? Yeah. It doesn't even go further than that, right? It just stops at 10 and say one per province, 10 in parliament. So really, at the end of the day, it's about how much noise can you make for you to what? To get that one position to be in parliament. Over and above the credibility that I'm talking about. Is that person capable, right? What background are they coming from? So it's no longer about the checks and balances before you put that person in. It's all about which party is popular in making the most noise in a constituency for them to have that one person from their youth to go to qualify for that position. I don't think it's a fair way of choosing leaders. Leaders should be chosen in terms of their capabilities, in terms of what they can deliver to the people. Can they answer into the situations? Can you send them to parliament to do the laws? Right now we're talking about alignment of laws. How many people in parliament have you seen making noise about the alignment of the laws? At the end of the day, it's the civic society that has to arise and say, okay, there is donor funding, please align this law to this, whatever. Yet it's supposed to come from our government. And we're saying the people that we are sending there, are they doing what they are supposed to do? Are they seeing the things that need to be attended to? Are they capable of doing those things? Right? So then, at the end of the day, we may have these quota systems, but it's about the quality of the leadership that we are having. Same with the women's quota system that we're talking about. Are we having quality, or is it just a matter of quantity that we are having?
So in this condition that we have now, when the government wants to borrow money from an international organization, yes, they consult parliament. But now there's a provision in this amendment that says we can go and borrow money, we can consulting the parliament. Do you think, what does that mean to us as Zimbabweans? Which now the government can go and borrow money without consulting the parliament, which is chosen by the people?
The simple answer is we are creating doomed generations that are bound to things that they don't know of. It means the government will go and borrow money from wherever without scrutiny. At least consulting parliament at least was the minimum check level to say, but why this, why that? Right now that there are some treaties that will not be scrutinized by parliament, it means someone can just go and over borrow bind generations to come, partition Zimbabwe, do whatever they want, and by the time me and you get there to that age or to those positions, by the time we get there, things are already damaged, right? So here, it's not only about the current generation, but it's about generations to come, the future of Zimbabwe. Is that what we want to see? No, that's not a way of governing a country. You can't govern a country like you're governing your own pocket or a family. There has to be checks and balances, there has to be limits, there has to be procedures that should be followed, and we can't take away the minimum that we are having, the parliament.
Right, so as a human rights defender, what's in your heart in terms of the constitution of Zimbabwe and democracy in Zimbabwe? What's in your heart? What can you say to the viewers at home in terms of human rights violations that have been happening in Zimbabwe, and what do you expect the government to do in terms of addressing those human rights violations?
What we can tell Zimbabwe is that our human rights CV as a nation is not good at all. My heart and my wish as a human rights defender was to see a Zimbabwe where I'm able to express myself, I'm able to approach these institutions, I'm able to question things that I feel are not for the law or are against the law, right? Without fear, without favor. You know, that freedom to be you, you know, as youngsters want to see things happen. You want to see institutions working. I don't want to wait 2 years for my passport. For heaven's sake, that's a piece of paper. What does it take for us to have a piece of paper in front of me? Why should I struggle to get a basic document, a birth certificate? For heaven's sake, it's just an A4 one page. Why should I struggle? Why should systems not function? What me and you need is just systems functioning, getting what I need to get at the rightful time, and life moves on. We should be worrying about innovation and technology and all these other better things that we need as a nation, and not worried about basic things in life, right? My heart really is to see a change in Zimbabwe, right? To see you get to a government department and you are treated like a human being, like you are a citizen of this country, you know? To see people being treated in a humane and in a dignified manner, you know, knowing these are citizens of this country, being heard, you know, just the right to be heard, and not all these limitations that we are now bringing into the legal sphere. It's really not right. My heart will be to see a change to Zimbabwe where people, when it comes to these amendments, they are told in advance, okay, we have had challenges with the constitution in this manner. The net effect of this has been this and that and that. We are thus proposing that we amend the constitution in this manner. We are a very learned generation. We are a very learned country. I believe people would understand it that way. But this that we are having now, at whim, we just amend the constitution. You haven't even aligned the laws. You are already amending. What are you amending? What are we amending? Why do we need this? Are we not supposed to be talking about how to alleviate poverty? Right now, we're talking about grain not reaching the masses down the line. Are we not supposed to be addressing those issues? Right now, there's coronavirus. Which town have you seen that is talking about taking preventative measures? We are busy talking about the constitution consultative meeting, just one in this big a province. That's not right. I really hope things will be done better next time.
So now, in closing, we have these consultations that are happening in Zimbabwe, happening in every city in Zimbabwe. But now, will they go to remote areas and rural areas? Will they teach people about these amendments in their local languages? Are there provisions be written in Ishona, in Ndebele, in Kalanga, in Tonga? Will they reach to every corner of Zimbabwe talking about these amendments?
I haven't seen them. You just stumble upon information as you go. Good enough for some of us who are in the legal profession to hear about these things. But how about the masses out there? I haven't seen all those translations that you're talking about. They are not there. People haven't been consulted in their own languages, in their own localities. Their input hasn't been heard. They haven't been consulted. Remember the noise that we made about the marriage laws? People made so much noise that the country, as a country, we agreed this provision is not right, and something was done. Right now, are we in that same position to say these provisions in the proposed amendment, they are not right for us as a nation, let's do away with them? We're not having the same noise. Why? It seems as if the amendments are coming and everything is shrouded in secrecy. We're doing things behind bars, and one consultative meeting for this whole Bulawai. Yeah. Why not take these amendments to the people? right? The people are there in the locations, they are there in the suburbs, they are there everywhere. Why in the small city hall and for one day, it's just one session for this whole province? Is that fair? And affordability as well. Remember, you have to come all the way from Pumula, using your own to come into a public consultative meeting. I don't think we are doing right as a country.
Nikiwe, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure talking to you about these provisions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Someone once said, why fix it if it's not broken? But here we are 7 years later. We are fixing and amending the constitution before aligning. How did you get here? This is the case study of Zimbabwe constitution. Till next time, this is Know Your Right. Hashtag Asake. Do follow me on Twitter at The Real Bill Factor. Do follow us on Twitter at SciZW. Hashtag Know Your Right Asake.